And as we are moving ahead with the next panel discussion of the day, it's about understanding cyber threats for renewable energy system. And into that panel discussion, our moderator will be Mr. Divan Raimagia, Head of Cybersecurity, CISO, Adani Green Energy Limited. So can we have a big round of applause, everyone? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And into this, our panelists will be Mr. Sumit, Group Head of Information Security, Tata Power, Mr. Shabbir Badra ji, VP IT Security, Apraava Energy, Mr. Shaleen Khetarpaul, AVP IT CISO, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, and Mr. Kushal Kumar Varshney, AVP IT Juniper, Green Energy Limited. So can we have a big round of applause for this panel discussion, everyone? Thank you very much. And now I request Mr. Divan to please kindly go ahead with the further proceedings.
Hello. Yeah, it's working. Good afternoon, everyone. So after lunch is very difficult. Yeah. So yeah, our topic like today in panel discussion for the OT cyber threat in renewable sector. So it's very interesting topic, and I think we have the esteemed panelist over here who has more experience in this cyber space as well as this renewable energy. So we have the Sumit from the Tata Power, Shabbir is there, and Shaleen, and last Kushal is there. Okay. So let's hear from them what are the threat or the risk associated with the renewable sector, and in their organization how they can remediate or the mitigate, and what kind of the strategy they are using to mitigate this kind of the threat. And day by day we know that threat are evolving due to the AI or due to the technology improvement. Okay, so let's hear from them what kind of the threat associated in renewable energy, and how or what kind of the strategy they are using to mitigate the threat. Okay, generally we were discussing initially for IT threat, but now we are discussing for the OT threat. So let's hear from that. Okay, so my first question to the Sumit from Tata Power, and like how in your ecosystem or organization, like OT cyber threat you seen in next 2026, okay? So in upcoming years and recent, and what's your strategy to handle OT cyber threat?
Hi, good afternoon all. I hope you guys have a great lunch. And thanks, Divan. When it comes to the cybersecurity related threats in 2026 and going forward, again, we have talked about the distributed architecture in renewable space. I mean, this is not just like a traditional power plant station that we are running or a substation we are running. Because of this distributed architecture, wherever it is a brownfield or a greenfield project, we always try to achieve the efficiency to attain this distributed architecture. And when we say efficiency, it means basically consolidation of the central monitoring system, or the entire ecosystem which has been tightly governed by the partners and the OEMs. So mostly the threats are more into the remote operations. The threats are again coming from the cloud consolidation. Various integrations are coming into picture in this area. Now we have a heavy dependency on using the cyber analytics, because now the business tries to drive the entire analytics over these OT to give the better and optimized power generation services to the customer. And then again, the entire grid management is again now moving towards the centralized consolidation. So the threats are again coming from the management side, where various partners are now coming into the ecosystem. The boundaries which were earlier so discrete is now more closely tightened together in terms of either the management of the O&M services. The couple of OEMs are now distributed the services among the various power gencos. So whether it is a remote access or whether it is your supply chain management, the threats. So what I feel is that first of all, we have to understand where to draw the baseline. I mean, unless and until we understand what is normal and what is abnormal, it is quite difficult to do the protection over it. So baselining is one of the things that we should focus upon more going forward, because if my OEM is saying that I have to get remote access into a particular SCADA or a grid or an inverter or my battery management system, what kind of instruction sets I can say is a baseline which is considered to be a normal, and what instruction set I can say is abnormal. So that is a very thin line when it comes to either the entire O&M management or entire grid management. So baseline is the first concern for us. Detection and identification of threats comes second when we understand that what is normal for me. Second is again a challenge of remote access into the specifically the distributed ecosystem. The partner wants to take a remote access because the site may be at a very remote location where the technical team cannot reach, and now that can be easily achieved either via a traditional VPN that either OEM provides. Now in those cases, what kind of data transfer is happening or what kind of configuration management has been involved in that? So that is again the point of visibility area for the security team to understand that that has been tightly governed. So yeah, these are the two critical ones that I just wanted to talk about.
Great. So now as Sumit highlighted, digitalization increase. So along with the digitalization due to analytics in the cloud, a cyber threat also evolving. And he correctly highlighted the baseline part, okay? So without knowing our baseline or limitation, we cannot prevent the attack, okay? So with that note, like Shabbir, like in Apraava energy contribute lot in a renewable sector, okay? So like how you see the digitalization going on, AI coming. Okay, so how threat are evolving and what's your strategy to mitigate the threat? Not only prevention side, prevent side detection and the preventive maintenance side as well.
Sure. I think, all said and done, great knowledge since morning, a lot of things we heard from a lot of stalwarts who've been founders of the cybersecurity or the things here back in the country. Having said that, technology is going to continue. Today we are talking of AI, tomorrow we'll have some new more terminologies. AI is having agentic AI, blah, blah. We are even talking of, the agentic AI running the complete plant operations, completely. So there's a lot happening. Traditionally, if you look at this particular sector, or for that matter, a lot of any, manufacturing sector, we've always felt that air gap means we are completely safe and secure, right? But, you look at a couple of things. And the second thing which the mindset, a lot of people carry, and that's the shift in the mindset which is required for us, is compliance means I'm secure. These are the two things, which we need to take off our mind. Now, I think Sumit also mentioned that somehow how the OEM will need to take a remote on of the SCADA machine. You cannot prevent that, right? All this O&M partners have their own VPN connections, okay? And then here comes the user's behavior. The plant operators will have the VPN connections. And as usual for any human tendency is, he will have his flat files on the machine and somebody can get into the system, do a lateral movement and, get those credentials out, which can reach to the plant also, in spite of having all the sort of things. The biggest strategy, and I think, the government has worked on this, and I was looking at the CA guidelines also, the regulations and everything. There's a penetration test which is mandated, okay, which is very critical for everybody. They should take that bold risk. That's important. Convince the board, convince the leadership that, we need to do something. Especially at Apraava, I keep on doing something where, without the knowledge of my leadership also, like in the last 4 years I've been with the organization, I've at least done 2 times a red teaming exercise. Okay, and that's a bold thing to do. and I've even tried to target my SCADA systems, that really helps me to ensure that all the guardrails which we have done are really working well. We will have the best of the system. Fortinet was speaking about a while back, ecubic spoke, one-way transfer. But are they really being effective? And because when we start doing those things, you discover quite a few things. Just to share that experience and within this room itself, I was sharing with Papa Rajuji also. Recently, when I was working with few hackers and ethical hackers to look at, which where are the attack groups are targeting more within our country, especially on the energy sector. And there was no surprise post-Operation Sindoor. We always talking a lot. It was Pakistan terror group. So we sort of simulated them and tried to check, what. So that helped in fixing up quite a few things, right? From my IT/OT convergence, where the gaps are, where those air gaps are. We have ensured that, because there's nothing you need to have right from your generation data to your handheld device. Today I have that. What is my daily generation? I can, and without that integration, no one can have it. So, getting such a proactive exercise, of course, government has mandated it. Compliance is important. I don't say compliance is not important. At least that brings in discipline. But at the same time, compliance does not mean that you are fully secure. You need to, think out of the box, invest more time, do the right thing, look at the environment, pick some targets. It can be an OT target, it can be an IT system target, but that will really give you a lot of insights. Thank you.
Shabbir, parallel question, like you highlighted the detection part through either assessment, IT/OT, air gap finding, red teaming, you highlighted, IDS technology. These all the tools technology are detection part. But what's your thought process to prevent the attack? What's your strategy once the alert trigger? How we can fix in OT environment? Because generally we are not getting downtime in OT environment. We are not get the support from our plant team because their KPI, their metrics is plant availability.
True.
And our KPI is the security. So detection is there lots, and we discuss lots in the OT industry. But what's your thought for the prevention side or the remediate alert as well? Okay, and how you collaborate with the stakeholder?
Sure. One thing, and this was the biggest pain area, and I think the industry is evolving now. I've used an example of IT and OT as a husband and wife. They can't live without each other, but they have to be in the same environment, and there's no saying on that one. But having said that, this was one biggest challenge I had when I started working here, and it took us some time to bring everybody on the same page. So we have sort of formed a group, which is an IT and OT group. So we are encouraging the OT guys also, and then we are sharing the knowledge across things. So I'm building in redundancy amongst the team also. Okay. I'm ensuring my OT guy understands quite a few things on the IT security piece, right from the SIM and SOC and all those things. And I've got this formulated all the way up to the board. So there is a commitment from the leadership also. So that strategy is to a great extent helping me. It's not fully achieved. As we say in terms of cybersecurity, it's always a journey. You keep on evolving and discovering few things. But it's still a WIP. I always call this a WIP because every year we get an audit done and all that stuff. So that's the strategy which is working. So the people will realize this is critical the moment they understand things.
Correct. So correctly highlight by the survey, like people, process, and technology. All these three components required when it comes to the remediation of the any alert. Otherwise, detection will not only sufficient. Okay. Now with that note, Shaleen, you came from the DISCOM and the distributed network, and you are supplying the energy up to the home. Okay. So in your organization, in substation or the switchyard, what kind of the real OT attack have you observed? Because IT is still, we are aware about the ransomware and IT cyber attack. But in OT, and mainly in the substation where they are connected with the grid, okay, and our CTPT transformers are there. So if attacker enter into the network, they can open the circuit breaker as well, and they create the complete chaos and the blackout. So have you seen any real attack or think in the future AI will disturb the power grid in the substation?
First of all, thank you, RENEWSEC team, for having me on this panel session to share my views on the OT security. So, in my opinion, and BSES, so far we have been lucky, though no such incident had it happen. But to my opinion, I would break into two parts. One is technological, and the other is operational. So when we talk about technological, we can say it could be a device, it could be due to device vulnerability. We have a lot of legacies. In the power sector, there are a lot of legacies. And not much use cases available, not much testers available, tools are not available to test the OT environment. Though there are a lot of applications and skill available for IT, but yes, for OT it needs to be developed. Then there is a lot of dependency on the supply chain management. OEM dependencies, there protocol dependencies, there architectural dependencies. These are the dependencies wherein these things can be compromised while implementing. See, when we compare Indian SCADA system, Indian OT with OT environment in US, Europe or other developed countries, whenever we conceive a SCADA, during the design time, cybersecurity solution is a part of at the conceive time, during the design time. But here in India, SCADA system or OT system is already working in operationals. So cybersecurity has been built on top of it. So it is running with an operational mind. So we have to change the educate people, educate employees, management, that yes, cybersecurity is important, being a part of critical infrastructure. Second thing is operational. When we implement like any technology, be it IT/OT convergence, we leave a lot of ports, lot of data is being exchanged, lot of API integration is there. So these are the key node points which on both technical and operational, which can lead to any kind of OT cyber attack. I think a proper network segmentation between the IT and OT, physical isolation of the devices, and then packet monitoring at the network level is most important, or maybe deploying a firewall, or maybe any device which has a capability to monitor the packet, that is important at the network level.
Correct. So as Shaleen said, secure by design, and we cannot create defense in depth in OT network like in IT. At least we have to start with the bare minimum security, firewall, IDS solution, antivirus, Active Directory, backup, like that, okay? Because we cannot achieve defense in depth like so many tools and technology. As in IT, similar we can replicate in OT. So as one principally highlighted, secure by design, because initially it was secure by isolation, but now we called as a secure by design as well. But OT threat in substation or switchyard, it will be the danger if attacker penetrate from the IT to AT through any phishing link. So they can literally move up to the plant and they reach up to the SCADA level. So attacker will not perform the attack on the first day. Actually, mean time to respond time for the attacker is 6 months to 1 year. So within 1 year, they can reach up to the substation and they can create a blackout as well. So future, such kind of the attack will occur. In the morning, I show the video where completely blackout occur because of the attacker gain the access of the circuit breaker as well. Because through the relay, they can access the circuit breaker. You would like to say something?
Just very well point Shaleen pointed, and while we all preach a lot, I'm being very practical and grounded. All the OEMs, please don't take me wrong here. Even if you say secure by design and everything, look at the Golden Jackal campaign. Last year where there's a complete isolation, because at the same time, while what he said is very critical, but what is also equally important is, and which was highlighted in the morning by M.A. Keeping and Gulshan Raiji also, that, awareness of the users, plays a very, very critical role, because that continues to be a big weak link, and this I'm talking out of experience, where I work with a lot of hackers also to ensure, because which I spoke a while back also, uh, because that's the most important thing. Even the OT environment, sometimes we use an external devices to do an updates and all that stuff. So those has to be ensured that those are going clean and neat. Even if you're doing in an isolation, there is some sort of connection even from the OEMs also. One small mistake from OEM also can very pick up the data.
Correct. So as a CISO, as Shabbir said, people is also important. So as a CISO, I think we need to balance all the three wheel. One, people, second, process, and technology. So every year, our CISO KPI to manage all these three parts, technology, people, and process. With that note, Kushal, you are coming from the Juniper Energy. So as we discussed continuously, for the multiple OEMs are there, as Shaleen said, supply chain risk are there. So how does this supply chain, because multiple global OEM in our plant, we are not running the plant with a single OEM or single vendor or single SI. So supply chain risk is, I think, is very crucial in a renewable sector. But again, creating the S bomb, creating the H bomb. So how you think this supply chain risk in our renewable sector, and how we can remediate such kind of the supply chain risk where multiple OEMs are there in our environment?
Thank you for the question. So I think Shabbir already mentioned or touch base around the people aspect. We always say the weakest link is the human, right? Any attack, so be it at our plant site level, our own team, our own staff, or maybe SI, again there also it's a human, or OEM, or IT people, or O&M team or project team. The person who is designing security by design, again it's a human, right? So from a management perspective also, or board perspective also, who is going to approve the security budget, again it's a human. So awareness is something foremost which is required, I think, and from a law perspective, government is also enforcing lots of areas. So government is coming up with, like, be it air gap, right? So we have to maintain that. But same time, we have to monitor the data, we have to do the forecasting, we have to submit the data to the government also, right? To all the state load dispatch center SLDCs also, with all the challenges of air gap. We need to do forecasting ourselves also, right? So there are lots of challenges in particularly our sector, which I have seen. People are doing their bits and pieces.
How
And
you consider the supply chain risk?
I'm coming to the supply chain part also, yeah. So in supply chain perspective, with the variety of OEMs, variety of suppliers, right? And you, not just OEM, it is SI also, which is very critical role. The most important or the weak link as of now, which I visualize, is SI. Because I think my co-panelists also pointed this out, like when they are taking remote access, they are taking remote access, I don't think it's much secured manner. Somewhere they are compromising, either during commissioning stage or afterwards also. Upskilling them, ensuring they are trained, they take care of proper channel when they are doing any work, entire logging is there, what kind of activity is there, because we are part of national grid. Anything goes wrong, plant can go down or capacity can be curtailed, right, which will have a direct impact on the national grid also. So it's very, very critical. Another part from a supply chain, which is from an OEM perspective, because the kind of patches, the kind of, like, the lakhs of tags we are purchasing, like the patches are outdated in SCADA systems, or we are not receiving the timely update, or we have to, there is a cost to upgrade. Whenever there is a upgrade, because normally SCADA is meant to be run for a longer time period, not like 5 years or just 7 years time period, because our plant life cycle or PPAs are normally 25 years power purchase agreement. So with that perspective, I think some commitment or some maybe a push from government side also is required, so that the OEMs are mandated to support on overall security and these kind of risk part, as well as the SI ecosystem, because a matured or educated ecosystem is very, very important here.
Okay. So I think
So just wanted to add to what the Kushal has said on the supply chain related risk is, that one of the key things that we need to focus upon is that when we do our procurement, and specifically Adani and Tata Power is into the solar panel manufacturing space as well. Um, we buy the black boxes, right? So sometimes the manufacturer even has a software bill of material in their own native languages, and it is basically been, you know, installed in our factories. They are making the solar panels, helping us creating the silicon wafer with PN junction diode. Now just imagine a risk case. If these hardwares has been procured as a black boxes, been deployed directly to onto our manufacturing facilities, who is testing that what kind of backdoor has already been implanted into those software, or a logic bomb is already there, been waiting to trigger at a particular moment. A single silicon wafer having a PN junction dipping process with a machinery on a various chemical dips, the efficiency that we are trying to achieve is greater than 95% from the reflection rate. Now imagine you have a 2 gigawatt, 4 gigawatt of manufacturing facility, and let's say your 3 months batch is ready to dispatch with a warranty of 5 years, and you trigger a logic bomb over a remote, and your dipping process has less than 30% efficiency. Your solar panel warranty is of 5 years, which gets degraded into 2 years. And then that creates a financial impact along with the reputation. So simply relying on the OEM and the entire supply chain, how we are tightly controlling is the key of the hour. One of the example is definitely what Kushal has said, is that we have to make our OLA agreement with the vendor during the procurement, or your compliance agreement with the procurement is so stringent or not. Are you just checking the hardware procurement, or also you are taking deep dive into, before deployment, you have a factory acceptance testing in which you do the technical assessment as part of it, or when your site acceptance testing is also having a technical assessment involved in it. So supply chain risk is one of the most critical threat I can say that have on the renewable sector, specifically into the solar.
Correct, correct. So as Sumit highlighted correctly, it's not a just-in-time validation. It's a continuous validation of our OEM and ecosystem. Because one time we validate, okay, we don't know in the future, okay. So continuously validation of this OEM through the checklist, through security score, through contractual compliance, and through PAT. Okay, so that things I think is important. And recently we are aware, we had seen the Heathrow airport use case, okay, where multiple airport in Europe hacked because of the one software used by the all the airports is a Colin Aerospace software, okay. MUSE software is there and used by the multiple player, and one software disturbed the multiple European airport. This is a perfect example of the supply chain. And in the past also we had seen the solar wind attack as well. So these are the common software used by the multiple industry, and one the attacker gain the access of the particular software, they can gain the foothold on the multiple plant. Say for example, one SCADA application used by the multiple player, Tata, Adani, any player. If attacker gain the access and find the vulnerability in that software, they can access all the plant. So this is called the supply chain, and I think we need to think very broadly and aggressively on that side with the S-bomb and S-bomb, H-bomb that need to be integrated our vulnerability management system. Automation required, so we can identify, not only preparing the S-bomb is important, integrating the S-bomb with our vulnerability management system as well, so we can timely identify the vulnerability in the software, in the open source library. So with that note, Sumit, again, one more question.
Just to add one point, what Sumit and you mentioned, a small example, STQC we all are facing, right? Like earlier there were so many CCTV players in the market. All of a sudden, hardly 4-5 are left with limited models. So I think that's a perfect thing what government has done. Although we are facing some turbulence, some issues with the supplies and all those things, and of course it has impacted cost also. But similar thing will happen in other OEMs and other suppliers also, because language which he very rightly pointed out, it is in different language, right? When we have a high reliance, even means there are cases where they ask us to provide a direct connectivity to that country so that they can provide remote support for installation, right? So I think government is doing their piece there. Although there will be some disruption, some turbulence will be there, but I think it will settle down.
Correct, correct. So now next topic is like our theme is cyber resilient. Okay, so we cannot prevent Sumit all the attack. Okay, in the cyber resilient part, what do you think, like how we can recover, quickly recover our operation if cyber incident occurs successfully in our renewable sector? But as a CISO now, you need to be there and quickly respond and kick out the threat actor from the network. So what will be your strategy for recovery or the cyber resilient side, Sumit?
Yeah, I mean, Divan, that's a great question because if we look into the reality, 80% of our CISO and information security budget is either being spent on detection or protection technology, but hardly we are focusing on the recovery. And when it comes to building a cyber resiliency into the environment where availability is one of the most important factor, you cannot just turn off the switch and make the whole plant blackout. So in those cases, then recovery, deploying the recovery and the recovery strategy plays a very key important role. And this, I believe, can be achieved in two ways. First is definitely whatever the things as part of your drills that you're doing into IT, you have to replicate the model into your OT environment as well. The competency of the OT operations and in the engineers is what first they need to understand that how the attack works. It is not about that I just have to understand that how my SCADA and my OT machinery is working. It's more about that how they can be upskilled to understand that how the attack works, and based on those drills that they are going to help them to understand if this kinds of situation occurs and my automation fails or my let's say my operations over the machinery fails, then what are the minimum baselining recovery strategy I can implement to make the things running. So definitely knowledge upskilling and drills is one of the key methodology that can be adopted when you plan for your recovery strategies. The second is again where we are now stretching upon is more on the backup of the system. Now, a typical backup in IT is just like you do a full and incremental, but when it comes to OT, the challenge is more complex in terms of that the changes that has been made based on your production requirements of the power, which fluctuates daily. So this is not a normal, you can say, the change that happens in the IT. It is more, the OT is more complex than that. So in those cases, then what kind of change management recovery process there that you adopt? Also the configuration pieces. Operator makes changes to calibrate the machineries based on the daily production requirements or the power generation requirements. Now these calibrations changes over day. So are these backup solutions been capable to let us know that on what instance of time I need to recover and what is my normal? Because if I have a ransomware attack and at the same time my calibration is working, and if I try to restore that instance, I mean, still I'm not recovering, right? So in those cases, those kinds of technical complexity also comes into the picture, and that's where we have to partner with the OEM to help them understand that how the recovery strategies, not on the technology front, but also the process front has to be taken care of.
Okay. So in the cyber resilient, Sumit highlighted the three part. One is awareness part, one is the governance and process part, and third is the backup and restore. So these are the important parameter. But on the top of that, Shabbir, like once the cyber incident occur, okay, in our plant, and now you are in the situation you need to give the answer to the board, you need to give the answer to the CEO, you need to give the answer to the regulator. How you balance along with this cyber resilient, okay, during that time?
Very tricky and a difficult question, but yeah, good question actually. Yeah. I think I think Sumit covered to some extent because what he and I like the one which he mentioned, which probably we all of us are doing it, but we need to stretch more. Is when we look at the OT, a lot of IT standards have been matured. IT standards have been matured a lot. The OT standards, I wouldn't say they are not matured, but the amount of efforts to ensure that they are being resilient needs to be taken up, like regular audits, penetration testings and all that stuff. Uh, My only advice here is, once you have, and I think the certain has mandated to submit the cyber crisis management plan from all the power generation companies, which is critical. So just act on that crisis management plan. I know it's a very difficult. It varies from situation to situation. It can be a very standard attack. It can be a ransomware attack. It can be a malware attack. We really do not. It varies from situation to situation. But yeah, and that just keep on reviewing the crisis management policy. And that crisis management policy should not only be for an IT environment, but also equally applicable for the OT environment also, the overall. So just act on that where, you ensure that you have CFO as part of that crisis management plan. You have the communications team as part of the crisis management plan. You have the operations head as part of this crisis management plan, because they all should be equally responsible during that time. The accountability is a secondary thing, but the responsibility lies with everyone. That's the strategy.
But again, main question was how you handle the board or the regulator during the time.
आएगा तब देख लेंगे sir. बाकी, but the point here is, from my end, what I do is not direct answer to your question, but that really varies, and then it is very very dynamic in nature, basis the attack. But what I personally do is I'm part of the board meetings, to ensure that board is completely aware of as to where I am in terms of my cybersecurity posture, what are my weaknesses, what are the strengths, what are the things which you're working on. And today this was my strength, but maybe in the next board meeting that becomes my area to improve upon, because that's as an evolving exercise.
Correct. So that's why we called.
And that gives the confidence also to the board that, and I think somebody said in the morning, I don't get that word, but if you put it in Hindi, वो कुछ रहेगा तो पता चलेगा, वो प्रेशर तो रहता है ना ऊपर में.
Yes. So that's why we called as not a CISO but Chief Trust Officer. So board need to be trust us in the digital journey. If we transparent with the board, if we say the fact data to the board, we say the risk to the board. So we are the trusted partner of our organization, trusted advisor. So more than the information security officer, we called as a Chief Trust Officer. So next question to the Shaleen. Now, day by day, regulations are increased globally in our renewable sector as well. And have you seen this regulation stop the innovation side, or how you seen the regulation in our critical infrastructure environment?
So, in my opinion, the regulations, the CA norms, the cybersecurity norms issued by CA and MOP, I think it's a boon and to the power industry. Now, ISO 27019 is the only cybersecurity standard dedicated to the power industry of the entire 27001 dedicated to so the 14 articles in the CA cybersecurity norms lay out the foundational structure of that every power sector company or should have, be it starting from the structure, what kind of design it should have, what kind of testing it should be done. And then from the procurement point of view, there are regulations laid out by the MOP that from where the purchases should be done, where the assets should be tested, what kind of testing should be done. So I think this is an extremely beneficial platform or the rules in the regulations, be it SBOM and a software bill of material also been laid out so that we should know what kind of application do we have. And the most important part is that there should be an exercise called as KYA, Know Your Assets. Should be conducted by every organization to know what kind of percentage, what is the legacy percentage do they have. There cannot be any city which would not have any senior citizens. But there are very few insurance companies who would provide insurance to senior citizens. Similarly, there would be, we can say, countable solutions who would provide security or monitoring to the legacy both IT and OT applications. So that has to be brought in consideration.
Kushal, 2 cents on the top of that, like regulation are helping the innovation or the reducing the innovation or in helping in the renewable energy sector. What's thought on the regulation side?
It's a mix, as I mentioned earlier also. So regulations, to some extent, they are causing bit of disruption because any change, there is always some disruption is there. So the example which I go, STQC. So similarly, like with the CA guidelines also, which is coming up, where there are certain things, equipment has to be BIS certified or some those kind of ratings. So there is a crunch which industry is facing. But short term, there might be some challenges, but medium to long term, it is going to be a blessing for the country and for our energy sector itself overall, holistically.
Okay, okay. So the last question to all the panelists, one liner, I think you have to give the answer. Start with this Kushal only, like in 2026, in upcoming year, we are in December. So how you seen in next year the threat will be there? What kind of the threat will be there in our renewable sector? One liner.
I think as AI everyone is using, so definitely bad actors are also using AI and they are trying. We have to be right every time. They have to be successful just once to hack us. So it's a race, and all kind of threats we are prone. Everyone is prone, and we need to be prepared for the worst and the best both.
Okay. So AI versus AI race is going on and it will be there. Yeah, Shaleen, in 2026, what do you think?
In my opinion, coming times, supply chain attack is very, is something that we should look forward for. And I believe that in coming times, in coming years, we should have a platform agnostic SCADA or a OT sector should be there. There should be less dependency on, selected products or solutions. It is something like what we have in US, Europe, or maybe any developed where we can deploy any solution.
Okay, okay. So one is AI, one is supply chain. Shabbir, what's your one
I
liner in
think
2026?
my own was AI versus AI, the same thing. But I think, uh, I think I've been stressing that a lot in my entire conversation is, while we speak on a lot of defensive mechanism, one piece of advice is we are just about to start a new year, start building capabilities on offensive side of also. So that is going to really help the organizations.
So third one is offensive security we need to build, but AI is a top priority in supply chain. And Sumit, last your notes, what will be happening in 2026?
So, I agree to all the other panelists' views as well that AI, but one of the most critical threat that I can foresee is this geopolitical complexity going on these days, where one country is holding uh, the the raw material ecosystem, another one is with the technology, and then there are some countries who are basically the consumers of this. So the other panelist in the morning has been explained from the geopolitical tension perspective is that the attacks are now being so sophisticated, whether it is a supply chain related attacks or whether it comes to the attacks that has been happening by engaging the entire cybersecurity and you can say a hacker community is now being paid into doing the geopolitics attacks over the critical infrastructure. I guess we in the future as well. I mean, we are very well been known that these attacks can happen and disrupt the entire wind farm in the case of Enercon that we saw in 2022. So it's more about that preparedness that we have. But again, we have to understand that. In these cases of scenarios, the entire preparedness of the organization as well as the cross collaboration with the OEMs is going to play a major role in this. So that is what my views on the upcoming threats.
Okay, with that note, I think we can conclude this panel. And I think I had asked the tough question to the panel member, and ethically and from the heart, they had given the answer. And I think my team member and the colleagues, you learn lots of things regarding the OT cybersecurity attacks as well. So thank you very much, all of you, for listening us carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I request Mr. Divan to please kindly felicitate the other panelist. Mr. Sumit, can we have a big round of applause, everyone? Thank you very much. Mr. Shabbir, Mr. Shaleen, Mr. Kushal Kumar, and to felicitate Mr. Divan, I would like to invite Dr. Prashant Atriya to please kindly come on the stage and do the honors. I request for a group photo.